Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to take a crack at completely transforming your writing from, well, kind of choppy and robotic to flowing and sophisticated. And we'll do this using the absolute magic of sentence synthesis. If you've ever read back your own work and felt like your sentences were a little clunky, or maybe your paragraphs feel like a bumpy car ride starting and stopping out of nowhere, you are in the exact right place. We're going to look at some incredibly simple, highly effective tools you can use to immediately level up your writing style. So let's just dive right in by being completely honest for a second. When you're trying to tell a story or explain a concept, does your writing ever sound like a robot took over your keyboard? You know what I mean. When you're conveying information, do you find yourself just stacking short, blunt statements one after the other? It's a super common trap. We do it because we're trying so hard to be clear, but it actually interrupts the flow and completely yanks the reader right out of the narrative rhythm. To put this into perspective, think about a classic choppy sequence. Something like, he opened the door, he entered the room. If you read that out loud, it's very staccato, right? Very stop and go. But if we just smooth it out a bit, we get opening the door, he entered the room. See how much more professional that synthesized version sounds? We just connected the actions, maintained the pacing, and built the single fluid thought. That is exactly the kind of transformation we're exploring today. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that we're combining simple sentences into one elegant structure without losing a single drop of the original facts. Sentence synthesis is basically the formal process of doing exactly that. So today, we're specifically looking at taking one simple sentence, adding another simple sentence, and creating one newly constructed simple sentence. The original meaning? Completely intact. The delivery? A major upgrade. To make this as easy as possible to remember, we've organized these grammatical rules into a really handy writer's toolkit. Our agenda covers the power of synthesis, mastering time and action, reasons, results, and states, contrast, method, and addition, and finally, the quick selection guide. Let's open up that toolkit right now with Section 1, Mastering Time and Action. This is all about controlling exactly when things happen in your narrative. Think of yourself as a movie director. You get to control the timeline. Imagine a sequence where the first action has to completely finish. Say, he finished his work. And then, a minute later, the second action kicks off. He went home. If we want to synthesize this seamlessly, we combine them into, having finished his work, he went home. This brilliantly illustrates the perfect participle rule, using having plus a past tense verb. You use this when one action must be 100%, literally totally finished, before the next one even starts. On the flip side, what if those actions are actually overlapping? In that case, you just convert the first verb into an ing form. Take two overlapping actions like the boy ran fast, he caught the bus. To merge them, we drop that first pronoun, add our ing, and bam, we get running fast, the boy caught the bus. It's immediate, it has incredible momentum, and it connects those two ideas perfectly.
All right, moving on to reasons, results, and states. This is how we explain the why behind an action without ever hitting pause on our story.
What's really fascinating here is how effortlessly you can replace verbs like is, am, are, was, or were with the simple word being to fuse a state of being with an action. Take these two completely separate facts. He was tired, he went to bed. By reducing that first clause down to being, we get being tired, he went to bed. It basically takes a somewhat boring, robotic sequence and turns it into this really smooth cause and effect narrative. And hey, speaking of cause and effect, when you really need to highlight the reason for a result, swapping out separate sentences for a due to, owing to, or because of phrase is a game changer. Instead of writing, it rained heavily, the match was canceled, you just say, due to heavy rain, the match was canceled. It instantly sounds more authoritative, doesn't it? It clearly links that external factor directly to the outcome. Oh, and here is another phenomenal tool for explaining why, specifically when something is missing or lacking. He had no money. He could not buy food. I absolutely love this next formal construction. Using for want of makes the sentence sound incredibly classy and authoritative. For want of money, he could not buy food. It's just a highly sophisticated phrase that you can keep in your back pocket to really impress your readers. Okay, let's jump into the really fun tools: contrast, method, and addition. This is where you get to add complex flavor to your sentences. Let's start with contrast. Take these two sentences. He was poor, he was happy. Instead of hitting the reader over the head with two blunt, conflicting statements, actually scratch that. It's more about how we can soften and connect those conflicting ideas. Despite being poor, he was happy. Using despite or in spite of creates this beautiful narrative tension in a single breath. It immediately signals to the reader, hey, normally these two things don't go together, but in this one unique case, they absolutely do. But what if you want to explain how someone pulled something off? If we start with, she practiced daily, she improved, we can highlight the method of her achievement by connecting the result to the action using by plus an ing verb. So we end up with, she improved by practicing daily. It shows the direct path to her success without feeling choppy or disconnected. And if you're looking to stack positive attributes without just typing and over again, besides or apart from will be your best friends. Instead of he teaches English, he writes books, try something like besides teaching English, he writes books. It just lets you pile on those accomplishments really smoothly, making your subject sound multifaceted, without relying on those repetitive, boring conjunctions. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this explainer, diving into time, reason, method, and contrast. So let's wrap this up with the quick selection guide, your ultimate writer's cheat sheet. Think of this framework as your ultimate secret weapon. It directly matches your specific narrative situation to the exact grammatical tool you need to use. Whether you have two actions by the same subject requiring an ing verb, a prior completed action needing a having construct, or maybe you're trying to show contrast or reason, it maps it all out. It completely takes the guesswork out of crafting flowing prose by giving you a plug-and-play formula for every single scenario. So to lock this toolkit into your memory, always remember that your choice really just boils down to the relationship between your original ideas. Are the actions related? Is one fully done before the next begins? Are you contrasting two surprising facts, or are you explaining a cause? The absolute biggest takeaway today is that understanding that underlying relationship is the key to choosing the perfect structure for your shiny, newly synthesized sentence. Which brings us to our final thought for the day. Which choppy sentence will you synthesize first? I'm going to challenge you right now. Pull up an email, a report, or an essay you've been working on recently. Find a pair of those robotic stop and start sentences and try using just one of these tools right now. Play around with despite, experiment with having finished, or test drive for want of and see the magic for yourself. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy writing!